everybody, welcome back to another episode of Stavros Midwest. We just got back from getting some shoes at the shoebox in Black Earth, Wisconsin, and we're gonna take a little hike here in Blue Mountain State Park and see what we can see. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit about why we came back to the United States from Germany. So stay tuned. Get down. There you go. You lost a shoe. Your boot. Okay, off you go.
Watch out for that tree, Daddy.
Watch out for the tree? Okay. Well, it's a little bit of a dreary day here, but it's not bad otherwise. Birds are out and the rain stopped, so it's nice and full in here, so we'll go for a nice little hike. Well, as we're kind of exploring our world over here in Wisconsin, I just kind of wanted to go into why we moved from Germany back to the United States and kind of how that transpired and how that looked. So actually I started my YouTube channel back in Germany just to kind of show what it was like to live in Germany and kind of like how it was there. We lived in Regensburg, Bavaria, which is about an hour north of Munich. And initially I lived in Germany with my wife because she was going to med school at the time. She got a placement in Regensburg at the university there. So after I was done with nursing school, hopped on a plane and went over there and lived there with her for the last 12 years, up until last year. I worked on a German ICU as an RN, and I have a couple videos about that as well. If you want to go back and look at my previous videos I made, I go into a little bit about that. What's that?
How about this way or that way?
Sure, we can go this way. So we're on the Weeping Rock Trail in the Blue Mountain State Park, and it's a pretty cool little area. It's very lush in here. What's that?
That way.
I think we go down there, yeah. But this is all full of what appears to be like oak and walnut trees and so forth, and it's really pretty in here. I've been here in the winter time, and obviously it's not as full, but pretty cool down here. So we're gonna go check it out. So to kind of give you a little background, I moved to Germany in 2011, and initially I had my paramedic. I usually worked as a paramedic in the United States, but I got my own nursing license as well on the side. And my initial plan was to work as a paramedic in Germany. So we got everything. We went through the paperwork and tried to get my paramedic license and my nursing license transferred over. It took about 9 or 12 months to get my licenses transferred over, and my nursing license was the first one to get transferred over, and at that point we needed money, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna work as a nurse. So having a paramedic background and having interest in critical care and so forth, I got a job. I applied and I got a job at the University Clinic in Regensburg, and I got a job on the Station 90, which is a surgical ICU that has a lot to do with polytraumas. So like if they have car accidents and so forth, if you have patients with multiple injuries of different kinds and so forth, they come to that ICU. And also the University of Regensburg is a big hospital, and it's a liver transplant center. So we had a lot to do with liver transplants after they came back from the OR in the ICU there. And we also had some kidney transplants, but most of the other stuff was like vascular and visceral surgery. So that's where I worked at, and the people I worked with there were great. It was a really fun time. It was a challenge. It was a lot of fun. I learned an immense amount of stuff coming from the United States, working only as a paramedic, really, and just having a little bit of a knowledge, working as a nurse. I hope that I get to take that knowledge and experience with me and use it elsewhere in the world. So to give you an idea of the hospital that I worked at, what it was like there, The University Clinic of Regensburg, or University Hospital, there they call it clinic, so UKR, Universitätsklinikum. They have over 800 beds. Every year they have over 35,000 inpatients that they take care of, and they have up to 154,000 outpatients that they have every year. So it's a big hospital. Over 4,000 employees, 1,700 nurses, and 700 doctors or so. So it's a big place. So you get to see a lot of stuff as a nurse coming in there. And just as a side note, if anybody is just graduated nursing school and everything, and one of the best things you can do is, even if you want to live in a small area, a small hospital, and so forth, take a couple years, bite the bullet, and go to a big university hospital or a bigger clinic, a bigger hospital, and get yourself some experience. And then afterwards, you can go back to wherever you want to. But it's just a boatload of knowledge that you can get, and that's where you want to get it at. You okay? You gotta be careful. You lost your boot. You want to put that back on? There you go. Good job. You all set? Let's go. And so that's what I ended up doing, working at a bigger hospital. That's how you learn stuff. I'm not the best and greatest person at what I do, but definitely didn't hurt going to a bigger place like that. Got to know lots of people, really good people. Developed a lot of good working relationships and so forth, and had fun a lot of the way, especially night shift, speaking with my East German colleagues, Michael, Servus, and Peter, Frank, Stefan, my good friend I still have contact with, and he's come over to the United States twice. I hope to see him again soon. My boss, Franz. Everybody else that was there, really good people. Just before I left, we were able to take a group picture, and I brought a German flag, an American flag, and wanted to get a group picture, and there was people coming out of the woodwork to do that, and it was a lot of fun. I'm going to blur out the faces here because I'm not positive how that works with legalities, and I'm sure it's legal, but I don't know if everybody wants to be plastered on the internet. But it was a really cool picture, and so that's here. Other things that the University Clinic is known for over there is they're a big ECMO center. They were the first clinic in Germany to successfully transplant a liver, which makes sense because they're a liver center. But they're the only tertiary medical center in Eastern Bavaria. So the worst of the worst comes to them, kind of like the end station for anybody who's got like severe health issues and so forth. They go there. Because of that, because they're the worst of the worst, something to think about as well. I made the little comment before that if you want to learn how to, if you want to get some experience and so forth right out of nursing school, is go to a big place like that. You learn lots of stuff, but what you have to remember is if it's a tertiary center like that, lots of people get sick and die, and that's what you're going to see a lot. It's not like, a little dinky hospital where everything goes well and you don't see much. You see lots of stuff, and then you end up getting jaded maybe at some point, or just take care of yourself and be aware that that kind of stuff can happen and does happen. So, but you learn lots of stuff though. So coming to the United States there was lots of different processes that we had to go through. The biggest, longest part, maybe the most stressful part, one of the most stressful parts, was getting my wife's green card. My wife is a German national, so she did not have any kind of prior connections to the United States other than just visiting for vacation and so forth. So we had to apply for a green card. You have to apply for a visa first, and then you get the visa. It usually takes, initially what I was told, takes 12 months, but it ended up taking 18 months in our case. Lots of checking online at the USCIS? I always call them USIS, but lots of checking on there for statuses and so forth, and took a long time. lots of paperwork and so forth. I ended up writing my congressman one time to see if there was like some kind of holdup or something. And that's the longest part, is waiting for the U.S. CIS. So what is that? The U.S. Customs Immigration Services. Waiting for them to get their stuff in order, and then after that it goes to the National Visa Center, which is actually a quicker process. And you go for, near the end of that, I'm sure lots of people have seen the movie The Proposal, where they have to get interviewed and so forth together.
I will see you both at 11 o'clock Monday morning for your scheduled interview, and your answers better match up on every account.
That wasn't the case for us. There is actually a lot of, because we were married for like almost 10 years prior to this, and we had documents and paperwork and so forth, it wasn't that big of a deal for us. But apparently if you are only married for a couple years or so, they do make you go into interviews and they double check and make sure that you actually are married to the other person and so forth. That wasn't the case with us. My wife just had to go to, we had to go to the embassy in Frankfurt and do some paperwork there, drop some paperwork off, and then she ended up having like a 30-second, 5-minute interview. And then we were good after that. We finally got my wife's visa in November of 2023. After you get your, you also have to do a physical as well. We went to Munich for that. She had to just get her blood pressure taken, have labs drawn, and made sure she didn't have syphilis or the clap or any of these other, Ebola or anything else like that. Then after all the paperwork in the embassy and so forth, we got her visa. And after you get your visa, you have 6 months to enter the country. After that, that's kind of when the clock started ticking, and we had to decide, we had to look for a shipping company, a moving company. We ended up getting a container. I forget how long it was now. I think like 20-foot container, costing about $7,000, $8,000 or so to ship that. There's lots of different companies online. You have to look at the reviews and so forth, and some of them are catastrophic reviews, but we found one that was kind of half in the middle, with good and bad reviews and with the prices, of course, and ended up working out really well. We got our things in the United States like 2 months early, I think. So we moved in April and we got our things in, I want to say, mid-July, and we were expecting it in September. So we actually got it a fair amount earlier than what we had anticipated, which is really cool. This is nice. Okay, go check it out. It looks a lot like, it's really pretty in here. It looks a lot like, if you've seen The Last of the Mohicans, the beginning scene where they're kind of running through and they get the elk. This kind of reminds me a lot of that. Really thick canopies in here and so forth. But after you get your visa, you have 6 months to enter the United States for that thing to be valid. And as soon as you enter the United States, then they stamp your visa and then your green card comes to you in the mail.
We're happy to be in America. Don't ask for a green card.
So something I probably would have done a little bit different looking back, just because you have those 6 months of time to get into the United States. And if you don't make it in during that time, then your visa becomes invalid and you have to start the whole process over. Looking back, we probably would have moved a lot earlier into the United States than the 6 months. We essentially waited a week before the 6 months were up, and then we moved back in, just because my wife was working as a resident at the time, and she wanted to maximize her time there at her work, and she didn't want to leave everybody hanging, and they had low staffing and so forth at that point. So she wanted to maximize her time, and we did. We just had a week of time left over afterwards, which it worked out, of course, but it might have just been a little bit less stressful if you didn't have to think about that.
Yes.
So after we got our visa, we were able to finalize on a moving company over the next couple months, and we also got our tickets. And then from there, it was just trying to get rid of all the stuff. We ended up taking a fair amount of things, but we got rid of a bunch of things as well, which unfortunately, looking back, I would have taken our bikes with and so forth. So Knowledge for next time, or knowledge for whoever's moving, and don't sell your bikes. Don't give your bikes away. Keep them, if they're good ones, that is. Something else I kind of want to touch on, because I'm sure lots of people are thinking about it, like what was it like with the social system there, and how is the pay? You know, how much does a RN in Germany make, an ICU nurse? I took a paycheck that I made I took a paycheck that I had from October 2015 when I worked full-time. And in that paycheck I made about 20, and you have to remember, in Germany you get paid monthly. It's not every 2 weeks, it's monthly. So you definitely have to take that in consideration when you go shopping and so forth. Yeah, so my paycheck was $2,900 without taxes. After taxes, which comes to about 17%, taxes and health benefits and so forth, at 17%, I had 2,400 euros left over. So if you calculate that out, or actually, I probably made a little bit less than when I left Germany. And so when I left Germany, I was probably making about 22 euros an hour. So about 17% of your paycheck was taken out for taxes and health benefits. Roughly, I paid about $250 or 250 euros a month for healthcare, and that was, at that time, that was for 3 of us, me, my son, and my wife. And for taxes, it was about 200 euros a month or so, roughly. I don't have the exact number in my head. Also, as an ICU nurse there, you got, if you worked the 3-shift systems, if you rotated shifts, you got a bonus of 105 euros a month that they just threw on there. There was something I didn't even know about for the longest time until we were looking at it the other day. My wife explained it to me. There's a solidarity tax that it's not in place anymore. It ran out like in 2021 or so. But it was after the unification of Germany. They had a tax for the western provinces of Germany to give to the eastern provinces to kind of help rebuild them after the Cold War and reunification and everything. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't know that. So yes, a American nurse makes a good amount more than a German nurse does. However, to kind of offset that, there was over there we got 36 days of vacation a year, and it was the point where I was scrambling trying to find places to put my vacation, which is really nice. So we got to go on lots of 1 week, 2 week vacations throughout the year. I was able to come back to the States, and usually it took about 3 to 4 weeks every time I did that to come back, which was really nice. And then kind of segueing from that to something else to kind of think about, and I've definitely noticed we've definitely noticed since coming back to the United States, is food is about 30% more. Our cost of living is about 30% more, which is not fun. I used to always think that Walmart was like the cheapest place to get things, but that's definitely not true anymore, especially since inflation. Went up a hill here, so I'm catching my breath. And then also the apartment that we were living in over there, we were pretty fortunate because we lived like literally 5 minutes away from where we worked. My wife and I actually worked at the same hospital. And we lived on the outskirts of Regensburg in a little province, or not a little province, but a little area called Oberisling. And it was about 5 minutes with the bike to get to work. And it was literally, I counted at one time, 2 minutes to get back down from work to home because it was downhill. And that was sweet when you had late shift or night shift. You just want to get home and get some sleep. Contrast that with now where I drive probably 35 minutes to work every day or when I work. So that's kind of a bummer. But gas in the United States is definitely cheaper. When we left last year, I looked at the averages and it was about $7 per gallon in Germany. Contrast that with, at the time last year, about $3.30 per gallon. So, yeah, no complaining about the gas prices here. Well, we kind of made our loop around here. Somebody's sleeping. So we are going to head back to the car, and then we're going to check out a observation tower that's up this way. And I'll show you that, what that looks like. You can kind of look east towards Madison. So on the top of Blue Mountain State Park here, they have a picnic area with a little playground. It's kind of a nice area. And they have campgrounds back this way. That would be to the southwest. And up on top, they have two different towers. They have the Sunrise Tower and the Sunset Tower. Obviously, one's in the east, one's in the west. We're going to the east one. They both have really cool views. The one towards the west is nice too, but it's it looks like it's in a little bit more of a disrepair than the east one, so we're going this one. The west one's got a fair amount of holes in it and so forth, and this one doesn't, so we're gonna go this way. All right, reaching the top here. It's a little bit heavier with the kids strapped to your back. And it is a pretty cool view from up here. Really nice commanding view up here of everything. So you have the Baraboo quote-unquote mountains are that way towards the northeast. You can see a pretty good long ways over that way. Then you have further the east over here, you have Madison, and you can see Mount Horeb here. It's just beyond the fog. And then Verona and then Madison is further east there. Normally you can see a big communications tower back over there, but you can't see that on today's day, or today. It's too foggy. Hey guys, with that, we're gonna end it for today. Hope you had a good time coming out and enjoying the afternoon with us. Hope you got to learn a little bit about Germany, leaving what it was like to work as a nurse there. If you want to learn anything more about what it was like working as a nurse, first starting off and so forth, you can go back and see episode 4 of Life in Germany. I go into that a little bit. But I wish you guys a good rest of your day. Hope to see you next time here on Servus Midwest. And yeah, we'll catch you later. Servus.